of that crypto money that I had sort of built up was a big mess. So everything that I thought I was going to have was gone. I found out my wife and I were expecting twins. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what we were going to do. It was a nightmare. It started to really push me into a dark place. And I kind of just called out to grandparents, my wife's father that she never really knew growing up because he died early. And I just put everything into that wish. It felt like I connected with something. I feel like I was heard.
I'm very excited to be joined here right now with Tom, who won an incredible prize in the U.S. state of Massachusetts. He won the Megabucks in just recently, 2025 in April. He is a lottery winner. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. You have such an inspirational, very intriguing story for so many reasons, but kind of walk me through what happened. How much did you win and what happened?
Yeah, so I won $1.97 million through the Mass State Lottery, and I did use, it was through an application called lotto.com. It was the first time that I ever played the lottery. So it was really, it was the first time that I had played the lottery, but it took 2 weeks, but we'll, talk about that whole thing. But yeah, it was a huge surprise to me that I would win. I didn't believe it.
1.97 million. I mean, good Lord. I mean, how did that feel?
Yeah, boy, there was a lot of emotion there because I think I had a hard time believing that I won on the app. I had to kind of leave the app and check the numbers online and say, is this, maybe the app is fooling me to get some sort of information out of me. This can't be true. Are those really the numbers that won? Is that really the amount that was won? I didn't believe, like we're all pretty skeptical of things that we get online. There's a lot of scams and things like that. When I finally realized it was real, it was, wow, I'm going to be able to get a house, or I'm going to be able to move forward with my life, and, all of the crazy things that I was dealing with at the time.
Well, let's just back up just a little bit before the win, because there's some really peculiar or interesting things that happen even leading up to the win. So what was going on in your life, and what was your mindset, and how did you buy the tickets? Like, what happened before the win?
I was a big cryptocurrency person. I helped with a bunch of websites that were a bunch of different YouTubers and things like that, giving them information about cryptocurrency, and built some channels up. So I was in contact with a lot of different people in cryptocurrency, with MIT, with Harvard, people that were building these apps and things like that. And I was really kind of moving sort of my own portfolio, taking things that interested me and things that I thought were going to be big. And new technology was a kind of a interest of mine. Took some classes online during COVID and really tried to get the knowledge of the whole space. And it was looking really good. And I'm a musician, but with music, it's, you do a tour, you do this, and there's a bunch of money, and you come back and you pay a bunch of bills, and then you don't do much for a while. You're kind of scrounging for gigs. And so when COVID hit, things really started to go down. Things that were booked were on hold. Things that were regular gigs that I had were gone altogether. It wasn't good, and we weren't getting any sort of help or support from the state or nope. Musicians were kind of like, oh, well, let's push that aside. It's not that important. So it was kind of tough in our city here in Boston. So the crypto thing seemed like, wow, this is maybe going to be a way for me to get ahead, to get a house I was always living in condos or apartments. And I found out my wife and I were expecting twins way after COVID, moving forward a little bit. And right before this news, all of that crypto money that I had sort of built up was I moved it into something else because I was waiting, and just like the stories you hear about, I was waiting and waiting to for it to explode. So I moved it into something else for about 2 weeks. And when I did that, all of the holdings that I had went up 600%, but I had moved them into something else. And that was hundreds of thousands of dollars that was unrealized, to put it nicely. So that money was gone. And what I had put it into did nothing. I couldn't move it back. It was a big mess. So everything that I thought I was going to have was gone. And then shortly after that, found out we were having twins, and we were in a small apartment. And it was like I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what we were going to do. So it was turning into a kind of a beautiful time and then a dark time. It's tricky.
So you lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in crypto, essentially, is what you're saying, because you invested it in one thing, and the investment that it had been in went up by 600%.
Exactly.
So what?
And I had held it for about 8 years. So it was like, it was a nightmare.
I can imagine, but how did that feel at the time? Were you just devastated?
It was like something that you had worked. I mean, I put every ounce of my being into that thing. And I was like up at all hours, researching, doing everything for years. I would come home from gigs that I had, and I would be up way too late, researching things, answering emails, whatever. All of that time and energy you assume is going to amount to, it's going to eventually come to fruition. And for me to move all of that money out before, realizing those gains, it was a nightmare. It was like started to really push me into a dark place, I would say.
Did you have hope? Did you feel that there was any sort of answer? Did you feel like there was a path to take, or what led you to this to playing the lottery?
That's a great question. At the time, I didn't see any path. I was racking my brain and just thinking of what can I do? I mean, we have to get out of this place. We need space. We need to be able to, it would have been really tricky having 3 kids where we were living. And I know how I got as far as to the Lotto app. That was a mistake. Essentially, I was messing around on YouTube or watching some videos online, and it was one of those things how you click on something by mistake, you move your mouse or your whatever, and you click on something by mistake. I was on my phone, and I was talking to a buddy of mine through text and going back and forth to videos on YouTube or something, and I just happened to hit an app, like an ad for an app. It was lotto.com. I'd never even heard of it. And I don't even know where I pressed on it, to be honest with you. It's never happened to me before. So it just pulled it up, and I was like, oh, this is annoying. And I couldn't find the X to, you get that thing and you go, where is the X? And my phone, the brightness was sort of down, and I was like, I don't know how to click out of this. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, lotto.com. And then you get this stuff in your head like, well, maybe somebody made me click on this or whatever. Maybe that is the case. and I just installed it. And when I did, it said not available in Massachusetts. And then there was an update button, and I'm frustrated at this point, like I got to get out of this thing. And I updated it, and it said now available in Massachusetts, which I found very strange. So, I guess in my head, I'm kind of in that place like, oh, maybe somebody, wants me to use this app or something. I kind of have that going on in my head. And I did. I installed it and I used it. And that probably leads you to your next question. So I won't go any further than that. But
Oh my gosh. So it wasn't working. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it said it wasn't available in your state. And then all of a sudden it was. I mean, that is kind of strange. So what were you feeling? What happened next?
yeah, so then after I downloaded it, I said, well, I want to make sure this isn't some sort of a scam or if I'm going to use some sort of lotto app or link my Venmo or whatever they're asking, I want to make sure it's legitimate. So I did a little bit of quick, maybe some sort of AI search or something. And just to like, is this legitimate? Is it, a sanctioned, whatever? Is it a legit app? Is it the lottery recognizes it and everything? And it seemed fine. Everything seemed to check out.
And
so,
yeah. So it seemed like it was credible enough. And, but what actually happened with playing? Because then you took the next step. And then, I mean, that's when things, from what we were saying, because we spoke on the phone for a few minutes, I mean, things got kind of strange right around then. So, walk me through what happened.
So the very first game that I played, which again, this is another thing that made me go, this can't be real. So the very first game that I played, I won I believe it's $250. It's not, you're not winning the big one. It's like two down. So I got, I think 4 numbers on Megabucks or whatever it is to get to. It was enough to make me go, well, I couldn't have won that with $5 or $6 like the first time playing, because I've never played before. Never played Megabucks, never played Powerball, never played anything.
Never so the lottery?
What's that?
You've never played the lottery before?
I had never up to that point.
Wow.
No. And that's why people will ask me automatically, well, how many years have you been playing? Well, how long? Because, people that you talk to, they've played their whole life. 20 years, 10 years. Everybody has a story, but I had never played it. I mean, I think maybe somebody bought me a ticket maybe once, like, maybe my mother or somebody for a birthday or something. I don't know. I've never bought one. So I won that money, that $250, and I said, well, because I didn't have money that I wanted to use toward any. I was, in a place where I was really conserving, and I just said, well, I'll use that money over the next couple of weeks and buy tickets. I'll just buy a ticket every couple of days, and that's what I did.
And you continued to do this, and eventually, did it multiply? Did it degrade? Did it go down in value? Did you continue winning? What happened?
That's a great question. Yeah, I did. I had a couple of wins. So I had like, I think maybe, I would get a couple of numbers here, like $10 or something. And I would just keep, it didn't go anywhere. It stayed about the same. And then I would say, then maybe the last week, it was just, I was up, now I'm down, now I'm down, now I'm down. And over 2 weeks, it went to zero. That 250 ended up going to zero. I would just, buy 2 tickets, 3 tickets, whatever. And it went to zero. And that's what brings us to what finally happened.
Well, and these were computer picks or like quick picks?
They were quick picks. Yep. I don't think once I chose any numbers in that 2 weeks. It was all in the initial win, the 250. That was all a quick pick.
And then you ended up scoring this incredible 1.97 million jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, were you out of funds and then you purchased one more, or how did it come about? What happened with the winning ticket?
Yeah, well, that's where things start to get a little more interesting. So as I'm getting to the end, because in that 2 weeks I thought, well, maybe this is like meant to be. Maybe that, maybe I'm gonna, I won 250 on the first one. Maybe somebody's, looking out for me. Maybe something's gonna come out of this. So at the end, I had no more money, and I was always checking every time the Megabucks was being called. I would check to see, oh, what are the numbers? What do they mean? What are they? Trying to just anything jumping out at me. What are these numbers that? And so the very last day I ran out of money, and I said, well, I don't know. I guess this isn't going to happen. But it was just kind of putting me in a real kind of dark place. I just said, well, I have no idea what I'm going to do at this point. This was my last little hope. And I kind of just called out to, grandparents, my wife's father that she never really knew growing up because he died early. Just everybody being like, look, this is the situation. Like I have like your daughter, and we have kids and everything, and we need a place to like live. We need like some sort of glimmer of hope here somehow. And I just put everything into that wish. And it's something I've never done before, just like really like putting it all out there. And just did one more. It was 5 quick picks, I believe. I sent you a screenshot. I think it was 5. It was 5 quick picks, and that was the one that did it. That was the answer, came from that.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible. So when you were putting out this wish, was this like a prayer? Was this like you're verbally actually saying this out loud, or were you just thinking this? And where were you?
Yeah. So I was in bed. And it was sort of something that I did kind of twice. I did it on my car ride home from work. So on my car ride home, I think I did that out loud. It was like my time in the car, like nobody can hear me or whatever. And I did that out loud. And then I did it again just right before the numbers were going to be called. I did it in bed. I don't know. And it just felt the whole thing felt very unnatural, very supernatural. It just did. It did not feel, none of it felt normal. It felt like I connected with something, or something heard me. It's like you've yelled a million times, but like, whoa, that one was different. Like, I feel like I was heard,
What actually did you say when you were in the car? You did it out loud, and when you were in bed, I don't know that you did it out loud, but what actually were you evoking? What were you putting out there? What actually?
I think I was sort of like, I kind of spelled out everything that had happened at that point. Like I just said, like, thought I had everything figured out with the crypto thing. I thought everything was going to go in this direction. This happened, and now I have no play. Now I don't know how we got to this point, but here I am. And, any help, any guidance, and point me in a direction, and I'll do it. You know, it was that sort of thing. It was like I'm out of options here, and it's like I don't know what to do.
Huh. And had you done something like this before? And was there like a letting? Oh, go ahead.
No, no, I really hadn't. I mean, you know, like I've prayed before and things like that, of course, but this was more primal. I don't know the word to. It was like from my gut. It was like, look, this is like I don't know what to do here. It was really strong. It was the strongest thing I've ever done. And I've even since then been like I don't know how I it was like a feeling inside of just like putting it all out there. And I haven't felt that before of really, you know, some kind of I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, that is. And was there a belief, was there faith that you were being heard, or that that you were part of something greater at the time before you knew that you won? Like, what did you
Oh
feel?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have always felt there are things way beyond myself. I mean, I definitely spiritual. I'm definitely have, you know, beliefs in that way of thinking. You know, I'm spiritual. I don't believe everything is what we see right in front of us. I think there's higher powers at play. Everything. I always have. I don't think I've ever doubted that. So I do, you know, how everything works. I don't know, but there's a lot of, you know, we could obviously go on for hours about that, but feeling like somebody actually hears you is interesting. You know, like I think we all talk, you know, pray or we reach out at times. I think we all do that, but I don't know that we always feel like, hey, I was just heard on that one, you know, and that's what has never happened before or since.
Well, I want to get into this feeling a little bit more in a little bit, but with this purchase of this ticket, there were like 5 minutes left
Yeah.
before it was about to expire, and the numbers, there was something very interesting about one of the numbers. There's a number on there. So can you tell me about that?
So two of the numbers that out of the winning numbers were my wife's birthday. It was almost like, you know, her father, which was a big part of this, you know, letting him know what was going on in our situation, he's no longer with us. It was almost like if he had heard me, he put his signature on on the, you know, hey, well, here's the winning number and here's her birthday. So it was her birthday. It was, you know, two of the numbers. So it was a little, you know, it was the month and the date of her birthday. It was pretty odd, you know. Is it impossible that? No, it's possible that could happen, but there's a lot of things like that, you know. When you put them all together, it's like that's pretty coincidental.
Yeah, all of these things that happen. And so if you had to, you know, just, it sounds like you're open-minded, but if you had to say that I think it's this or that, then, you know, whether it's intuition, manifestation, guardian angels, you know, God, what do you think happened?
Ooh. I mean, I believe all of that is on the table. I mean, I don't, there's nothing that you just said that I would say, definitely not. I think all of that is at play. I don't know if it all works together. You know, there's God, and then there's maybe guardian angels that are around you at times. People talk about accidents and having a guardian angel standing over them. I've heard of people, famous comedians that have died from car wrecks, and have people whose names that they said there was somebody witnessed them dying, and they were talking to somebody like, well, it's not my time. And they, okay, well, fine. And then they died. And there's you hear so many stories like that. So I think, maybe there is somebody that follows me around, and maybe if you keep that communication open, maybe maybe you get direction from that. But maybe if you're not open to it, you don't. And maybe I am open to it. I guess that's all I can really say about that. But
Well, I want to get into the feeling of it a little more in a bit, but you're backing up. So you had 5 minutes left to play. Is that right?
It was making that decision of like, well, I have no money left in that account. So do I want to just try one more time? And I was resisting the feeling of like, well, you should try one more time. But then it kept jumping into my head. I was talking to a buddy on my phone through text, just whatever conversation, how was the weekend or something. And it just kept jumping into my head. I was like, I wonder how long, what the cutoff is so that I can get a ticket. It just kept coming into my head, and it was like 10 minutes. And then I said, forget about it. And then at like 5 minutes, it just came back in my head, like, check and see how many minutes are left. And I did it again. So all of these things are very not normal for me. I think they're very, it's not normal behavior for me to do that. So I said, okay, fine. And I did 5 quick picks with just a couple of minutes left, which is, again, another odd thing.
Wow. Well, the outcome was spectacular with 1.97 million wins. So where were you? How did you find out that you won?
My wife was putting our son to bed in another bedroom. So I was in finishing up some work, and I was laying down in a bed in the spare room, which was kind of like an office sort of with like a bed, like a spare room to work out of. And I was laying down in there. So she was sort of putting him to bed, and I was, trying to be quiet, small place. And I was talking to my buddy on the other line. And so after I had bought the ticket, it was just one of those things. I was like, okay, I got that out of my mind, on to the next thing, forget about it. So because I bought it so close to the cutoff time, they were going to call the numbers in just a few minutes. It was because you can buy tickets, I don't know how many minutes before they call it, but whatever the cutoff is, I was right on the cutoff, and then, they're going to call it soon after that. So I just put it out of my mind, but about 5 or 10 minutes later, it popped back into my head like, hey, they must have just called the numbers, And that's when I checked.
Oh my gosh. So you checked right after the drawing, something was telling you, your intuition or voice in your head to check the numbers, that it had just happened. And then you saw this, that your numbers matched.
Yeah.
Were you looking at the ticket in the app, or what happened?
So that was weird because I opened the app up, and sometimes in the app, the numbers this was kind of strange too. Usually the winning numbers, all of your numbers are there in the app, all the quick pick numbers, but then the top is a blank space, and they fill that in with the winning numbers. Those winning numbers you usually can't see in the app for 30 minutes to like an hour. Why? I don't know. They don't update it quick enough. But this time on the winning time, the numbers were there almost immediately, which maybe that's a function of when you win, they put them there immediately. I have no idea, but they were there. So right after 9 o'clock, I checked, and the numbers were there, and it was really bizarre because it didn't say, it also doesn't tell you that you've won yet. They'll put the numbers there, but they do these little check marks next to every number that you get. And there were no check marks. So when you open the app and you see the winning numbers, there are no check marks. You say, well, I probably didn't win anything, so you don't look at the numbers that closely. But I did happen to look at one of the lines out of the 5, and it was crazy. It was, all the numbers were right there. But I said, well, it's got to be wrong because it doesn't say I won. There are no check marks. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they put up the wrong numbers. They doubled my line and put it up here. I had no idea. So I kept refreshing the screen. And one of the times I refreshed the screen, the final time I refreshed the screen, this whole yellow line appeared at the bottom of my screen with an amount of money. And when that appeared, all these check marks appeared on the line that I won. And then it was just like, wait a minute, how much is that? And again, the disbelief kicks in. This is a scam. They're probably going to ask for my social security number next or whatever. You're waiting for all of this. Can't be real. Then I looked online to make sure those were actually the winning numbers. And then I said, well, how could they be? I don't know how they could be scamming me because I did pick those numbers. So I started to believe, that I may have won.
But this was a computer pick, right? You didn't pick those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were quick picks. Yep. Mm-hmm. None of the numbers I chose.
Okay. Well, so when you saw this, initially you were in disbelief, but then you started to believe this. Was your heart going a million miles an hour? What were you feeling at the time?
Yeah, it kind of was. Well, I wanted to go show my wife, but she was putting my son to bed. But I said, well, this is too big not to interrupt. I have to show it to her. Maybe she'll see something I don't see. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe there's a lack of sleep kicking in. I don't know. So I walked into the other room and I showed her, and she didn't even know what I was showing her. Like, what is this? Some app? What are we talking about here? It wasn't like I was playing some crazy game or something. I don't know what she thought I was showing her, but she said, yeah, okay, you have these numbers match those numbers. So what does that mean? What is this? I don't even know that she knew it was a lottery app. And she agreed with me that everything matched up, and she wanted to know what that meant. So I showed her, well, it means this down here, if it's real, And she was just like, what? That can't be. She was super skeptical. She didn't know what to believe. I don't think she believed it.
What did she think that was happening?
Well, she wanted to know what the app was. She'd never heard of it, just like I had never heard of it.
This was lotto.com?
Lotto.com, yep. And I guess it's getting fairly popular now. But, I started right after I showed her. I think I got an email from lotto.com. And it was the same email I got before when I won the 250. So I go, okay, well, they're acknowledging that because even then I thought, well, maybe the 250 that I won, all the ticket, maybe that wasn't real money. See what I mean? Like maybe all the tickets I was buying with that, maybe that wasn't even real. Maybe it was just part of their, the scam. I don't know. So I got an email and they said you won and blah, blah, blah. And they gave me some information. And I couldn't go to bed after that. And I was up all night because I was waiting for, I don't know, something, a phone call or something. I don't know. I don't know what I was waiting for, you know? So,
Well, yes. I mean, it is a good question. I mean, how do they, and because different places have different rules, and it's like, how do they inform you if you just won nearly a $2 million jackpot and it's the middle of the night and no one's called you or anything? You just received this message. So, I mean, yeah. So what did you stayed up all night, and what did you have a plan after that, or did they contact you? Like, what happened?
yeah, the email, I don't know if the email told me, I think it just said that, you know, it said you won, it said blah, blah, blah. And I think it said that they would be reaching out to me. So I got another email. Since I was up all night, I can't say that I woke up and got it because I was already awake, but I got another email in the morning, probably when their office opens. And it was more of a personal email rather than like, you know, than an automated thing. It was from like the president or the CEO or something of the app, and saying that he would call me at such and such a time. And I was like, oh, great. And I responded, you know, it was congratulations, the whole deal. I'm still skeptical, but I'm sort of starting to believe that this is really happening at this point.
And then you met with him, or you spoke with him?
So
And
he called, yeah, so he called me and congratulations, the whole deal. And he told me what the next steps would be, which were I had to go to their office in Boston, and they have the physical ticket in lockup there. So I don't really know exactly how it works, but the physical ticket was in their possession. And I had to sign a bunch of paperwork and take pictures with them, and then take that ticket to the lottery office in Boston in another location. So the lotto.com office was in one place, and then the lottery office is in another.
that's really interesting, because so this sounds like it's a courier service.
Yeah, it is weird. It was odd. It was very strange. And it wasn't in the greatest area where you pick up the ticket. It wasn't in the greatest part of Boston. So it's pretty odd. They gave me balloons and things like that. And I'm like, oh, God.
That's incredible. And so for people that are watching or listening that aren't familiar, though, I mean, courier services, sometimes people win huge prizes like you just did on this courier service. But the way it works, typically anyway, my understanding is that they purchase the physical tickets. You're purchasing through their app, but they purchase the physical tickets. So it makes sense that you would have to then claim it through, or get the ticket through them and then take it to the lottery office. So that's really interesting.
And you got to imagine the person that has that ticket in their possession is just like, oh, God, I got to give this to this guy. You know, I mean, they must be just dying having to hold on to that. But I mean, I know everybody's, you know, I'm sure they're doing their job, but it's got to be brutal. So
Yeah, to think that, but you know, that's, I guess, to stay in business, to maintain credibility, they have to actually give the tickets out. But yeah, so you had this.
I had to pull it pretty hard, but no.
Yeah. You had this 1.97 million ticket, and just a piece of paper, you know, that you knew was worth a jackpot of this massive size. So what did you do with it? And did you immediately drive to the lottery office? Did you contact an attorney, or, you know, what happened?
I did not contact an attorney. The reason that I didn't, because I look back and think about how I did everything, but the reason I didn't was because I knew 100% that what that money was going to be used for. I pretty much knew how much I would get out of it after taxes within reason. And I knew that it was going on a house. And I knew that I wasn't going to try to take it over a bunch of different years. I wasn't going to have an LLC or some kind of trust, or I wasn't going to do, I'd read about some of that, and I wasn't going to go that route. It was going to a house, and it was going to a house very soon. So we just, money, down payment on a house, keep the mortgage super low, which is essentially what we were able to do.
Well, and I want to get into that in a minute, but were you able to claim the prize? Did you have the option of claiming it anonymously or publicly, or did you choose, or did you not have a choice, or how was that?
Yeah, I mean, I did sign paperwork that would allow them to use my sort of likeness or whatever. I didn't deny I could have said no to all that, but everybody was so nice, and I didn't want to be that guy, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt bad at, like, somebody gives you all of this stuff and you're like, no autographs, please, or whatever. I didn't want to be that guy.
Was there a different rule with the courier service? Did they require you to claim it a certain way, or no? I
don't think that I don't think they did, but they use my face all of the time on that app. I get emails from them, and it's like me holding a check. So I didn't really expect that, because they use it a lot. Pretty much every time I get any email from them, I can see myself on the email. But there are a few things that I would have maybe liked to say, it'd be cool if you didn't, maybe I'll check that box, There are a few things like that I wish maybe they didn't put me everywhere on their app, but it's okay, I guess.
When people do claim prizes publicly, then, they want to show that there's real people winning. So,
true. Yep.
Yeah, but I can't speak for them. When you claimed it at the lottery office, did they take a picture holding the large check?
They did. Yep. And that number that you see on the check, that's superimposed. They add that after. I always wondered that, because it always looks a little odd. But yeah, they add you're just holding a blank check, basically.
Oh, that's interesting. And,
yeah.
And were they treating you like royalty, or how was it when you're actually in there claiming the prize? Because you got balloons at the other place.
Yeah, they really, everybody was really nice, and they did. I mean, the weirdest part is when you go up to, the way it was for me. I don't know about other people, but I went up to a window with, like, everybody else that are bringing in scratch tickets, and guy 2 windows over won $1,000 or whatever, and you're seeing everybody and the reaction and the tellers and everything. When I gave them my ticket, the guy is just taking it like normal, like doing his job, and then they look at it and they punch in a couple things, and then they just kind of stop for a minute, and really quietly he's like, "Oh, congratulations," and then he keeps going again. He's like, "Wow, you don't see that every day," I mean. So I think it was, I think they're surprised. They don't see that all day long,
Yeah, that's amazing. And so did you have the option of taking the lump sum or the annuity? Because oftentimes in the USA, there's the option of taking the full prize before taxes, or a certain cash payout before taxes that's lower, but it's a big chunk. So what happened?
Yeah, I could have kept the 1.97 over many years, and I think it worked out to be something like around 100,000 a year for the life of the, whatever it is, 20 years, or the lump sum payout, which was 1.33 million. before taxes, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you ended up with how much after? So what did you choose, and how much after taxes? Are you able to say?
So yeah, I chose the lump sum, which was 1.33. They take federal and state right out of that, and gave me a check for I want to say 947,000.
And you took that how did that feel having that check? And then what was your reaction or did you get a reaction when you were depositing that from whoever was helping you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was really interesting because usually I get checks and I do a mobile deposit or at the ATM. I was like, probably not going to do that with this one. So it was odd having that in my hands, and then when you bring it to the bank, there's a whole new set of reactions when you go there. They have to go get the higher manager, and then he has to go get a higher manager, and then it's weird when they see a certain amount of money. Everybody starts talking, and maybe pitch him this plan or this thing, and that they want to get you involved in every program that they have.
And yeah, and they knew that it was from the lottery because the check was from the lottery. So was there certain reactions about that? Because some people have different, thoughts, opinions and stuff about that. If it just comes from, they think about it a little differently if it comes from what people will call a stroke of luck.
Yeah, they did. The only weird thing that with that was I had to wait. I think it was like 7 to 10 days before the money was available. They do all kinds of checks and probably call the lottery office and everything. There's some sort of protocol that they have for if it's over a certain amount of money. Other than that, it was, yeah.
Well, I found it really interesting because you put this towards a house that this is what you wanted before you played, right? This is what you were seeking, a house, and that's what you were wishing for. Is that correct?
And what I forgot to mention before was that is what with all of the lottery prizes that I was looking at, I only played the Megabucks because I said, I just want enough for a house. So when I had thrown that out to when I'd given that whole speech there in the car and everything, I literally said, I'm not looking for Powerball. I'm not looking for Mega Millions. I don't need that kind of money. I'm just looking for a house. I'm just looking to replace the money that was lost, which is essentially after taxes what I did. So that's a big part of the story, which I think about a lot.
In your intention in your mind, this is exactly sort of what you were hoping for, or aiming for when this happened. So you think about this a lot. I mean, what do you think about it now? Do you think this was, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think, you hear the word manifesting, you hear things like that, and what does that really mean? Essentially that is what happened. I mean, I sort of, that was in my mind, that amount was in my mind, that amount is what I asked for, that amount is what I got. I mean, it was really, it did not feel natural. It felt like there was somebody that was like sitting next to you going, okay, I hear you. Let me see what I can do. It was really strange. I've never felt it before, as I said.
Why do you think that this happened? Do you think it was because you put out this intention? Do you think it was, what do you think? Because there are all these different theories of, I mean, you have all these aspects to your story. You have this, it kept popping up in your head to play and then to check the tickets, your intuition. You put this intention out there. You felt it. You felt like you were part of something greater. But if I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I mean,
No.
How did you, like, retrospectively from your perspective, like, what do you think?
I guess I have a few different sort of scenarios. I mean, you're always going to have people around you in life that are going to be like, everything is about science, and if you say anything outside of that, they're, oh, please, guy, I'm surrounded by people like that, especially in this city, I think, where people are very science based. We have MIT here, we have Harvard, there's a lot, everybody, once you say anything outside of their little world, they get like, oh, please, it's the probability is, they start throwing numbers at you and things like that. But I really feel that even if you just look at the facts, I mean, there's a lot of coincidences there that are sort of lining up, but it's also that coupled with how I felt, that connection that I felt when I threw that out there. It was different. And then the numbers being what they were, the amount that we got, and nobody has won the Megabucks since, by the way. So it is now at 20 million. So nobody has won it since in Massachusetts. So it's been last April is when I won in 2025. So nobody's won since. It's been over a year.
Wow.
So yeah, I feel like it was whoever is around me, whoever looked at the situation. I don't know. I think I had some sort of help in a spiritual way. The right timing, just, it was my time to get a little help. I don't know. And there's millions and billions of people that need help. So I also look at it and say, well, why me? Because everybody needs help, So I don't know. Manifestation comes into play sometimes. I think about that.
A lot of people that are into manifestation, a lot of people listening or watching this are, not everybody, but a lot of people are, or they're at least open-minded. But regardless, people that are, the belief of it, people really swear by the belief of it. I mean, if you didn't have the belief, you wouldn't have played, but play responsibly if you play the lottery, of course. I'm not encouraging people to play, but if you play responsibly. But you had the belief of it, and then it sounds like, was there a letting go or a belief that you're part of something that's just going to, you put this intention out there and you just sort of let it go, or no? Like, how did that feel to you?
I felt like it was the 100% that was the last time I was going to play. So I had that in my mind. Like, I was beyond done. I was like, oh my God, I'll play one more time. I'm after that, this is it. I got to go to plan Z, I was like, so whatever helped me, let's say, right? They knew that, or it knew that, or if you want to go down that road, they knew that I was done, because I knew that I was done. There are other people that play for 20, 30 years. So, whatever was helping me knew that I was done. So they were going to help me then, or they were going to have to try to find a different way to do it, however that would be,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an incredible story. It definitely doesn't seem like just a mere coincidence. All these things lined up. At least I don't think, but it's amazing. I really appreciate you coming on here to share it. But, if somebody watching or listening to this happens to win a similar amount, close to a 2 million jackpot, because it can happen to anybody. Never spend more than you can afford to lose, is what I suggest people do if they do play. But if they do win, what's your advice for them?
Try to live like you were living before. Try to really try to, I'm a big proponent of not living to like a new means, like, oh, well, I'm here now, so I'm going to get this stuff. Well, my hand was on the screen. I'm here now, so I want to get this stuff, like try to be like, I'm here now and I'm going to live here still, and put the money into things that are really important for your future, your kids' future, to make your situation better, but don't do it with material things, that just come and go, because that's something that you're going to chase. You're going to chase that your whole life. If you have that mindset, you're never going to get ahead. I know people that get huge raises in their jobs and they still owe everybody money. They can't make that. They can't stay here when their situation comes up, And I think that's the best advice that I could give, is try to live within your means and not chase things that don't matter, because none of that matters really, honestly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and it goes back to what actually makes someone happy. Is it the material possessions, or, is it something else? But
yeah, it's an interesting thing to ponder, right? Because you'll never be, especially being a musician, which I am, a new guitar comes out, things like that. You always think you need it. Oh, if I just get that guitar, well, I'll be happy. And no, you won't.
yeah, I mean, the grass is always greener, but that's, you can view it that way. I don't think that's always the healthiest. But you mentioned that you're a musician, and that's amazing. It sounds like you play guitar. So what are you doing with that, and where can people find you if they wish to learn more about that?
I teach in the Boston area. I used to tour and perform and all of that. Now I'm trying to stay a little bit closer to home. I did that when I was younger, but I have opening a music school on our property called the Ipswich River Music Academy. So it's ipswichrivermusicacademy.com. And I will be teaching online as well. So I'll be teaching online and on our property here. So that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to stay home and see kids and have a normal life, which I've never had. So I'm trying to spend some more quality time at home.
Yeah, and you're not just some sort of novice musician, because you have played with some extremely famous, or at least toured with some extremely famous, or opened for them, these musicians that are like A-list people, right? Can you name a couple of them?
Yeah, I mean, I've performed with some and supported some on tours. I was on the Horde tour back in '97 with Neil Young, Beck, Ben Folds 5, Ween, Toad the Wet Sprocket. I was the drummer on the jam stage as well, so I would play with all of the guys on the tour. We would go on another stage and do this whole jam, so I played with everybody doing that. I've done tours supporting Bob Dylan, Paul Simon. I was friendly with Leonard Skinner back in the day, before a lot of them have died off, unfortunately. But did dates with Leonard Skinner, Bo Diddley, Howard Stern shows, Super Bowls, Canadian Super Bowls, U.S. Super Bowls, well, Grey Cup it's called in Canada. Did a lot of stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. TV shows. I used to write for some different music for some different TV shows, things like that.
Well, that's incredible. And now, in addition to all these amazing things, these famous people you've brushed shoulders with and played with, you have another thing, that you have won the lottery, a jackpot. So it's amazing. That's a big. It's maybe the biggest one. It's a big one. Well, I am so happy for you, and I really appreciate you coming on to the show. Is there anything else that you want to say about your story that I didn't ask, or maybe I just don't know enough to ask, or that you just want to say? I think people really get caught up in their own
little world, and especially on their devices and their everybody's like this nowadays. When you and I were younger, I don't want to sound, but we had a lot more, we were a lot more in tune with things going on around us. And I think we need to get back to those times. I think that we're getting lost in this digital world, this virtual world. I teach a lot of kids and I see their addictions on these devices in adults, of course. But I think we need to really stop and listen to everything going on around us. And maybe we'll get, clues to different directions or things that we're afraid to do. Or I think taking chances has been a big thing that I've done in life, getting thrown into the fire, into situations where I'm like, well, I don't have time to prepare for this. And then I'm playing in front of 30,000 people or something. I think it's good to jump into that a lot of times, most times, and something good is on the other side of that. So I think just keeping your eyes and ears open and trying to connect to the energy around us rather than this energy, which can be sort of negative at times. If that makes sense. You have a YouTube channel, so I don't want to say too much about screen time, but please watch Tim's channel, people. I'm not saying that, but I think you know what I mean. This is a real positive atmosphere, of course.
Yeah, no, and that's thanks for the plug there, but no, I really no, it makes complete sense. I mean, our society has changed so much and people are definitely glued to devices and stuff, and it's way easier. They're designed that way to try to keep your attention instead of looking at what's around. So I completely understand what you're saying, and I greatly appreciate you coming on here. Your story is amazing, and love to, host you another time in the future, but I really appreciate it. So is there anything else you want to say today before we sign off?
No, that's it. And I appreciate everybody that made it through this segment, and thanks for listening. And hopefully everybody has a great summer and great things come to you if you keep your eyes and your ears open and keeping an open mind about what's possible and not closing your mind off to possibilities.
I love that. Well, Tom, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and that's a beautiful story, and I love your mindset. So congratulations again.
Thanks for having me, Tim. It was a pleasure. The pleasure is mine.
God is real, because like I said, I would pray. I prayed that night after watching your interview with Gavin when he won $750,000 scratch off.
So you won $5 million the very next day?
The very next day. That night I prayed before I went to sleep. That night I talked to God. So I scratched off the barcode. I saw all this confetti. I saw a 5 and a whole lot of zeros. I just couldn't understand what was happening. Is this real? Yes, it's real. I just started feeling really, confused, happy, excited, nervous. It was a lot of emotions all at one time that just hit me.